Who does she think she is? A romance author? She's a mother. A podcast? Seriously? Another book? What episode are we even on? Here's what you really need to know. Stephanie doesn't just write stories. She invites others to tell theirs. They say everybody has a past. She thinks everyone has a story. And she wants to hear them all. This is Storytelling with Stephanie.
Tap, tap, is this thing on? Welcome back to Storytelling with Stephanie. I took a big break. I don't think I uploaded an episode since July, and I did disappear much longer than I anticipated. I had been in my writing cave since the summer, and I really haven't emerged on social media, I don't think really at all, except to pop in with a few videos and a few updates, but I'm working on a bunch of things behind the scenes that I'm really excited about. But yeah, I took a break. I was go since before November of 2024, trying to get my debut novel ready. And then after that, I was working on the podcast, and I have so many pre-recorded episodes to upload. And I then published my other novel, Fall from Grace, in May of 2025. So it's just been go for the last year and a half, and I just felt a little bit burnt out, and I think it was affecting my creativity. So I kind of stripped away everything that didn't feel entirely necessary from summer to now, but I'm really excited about the projects that I've been banking, and I feel like I had a lot of pressure on myself with self-imposed deadlines for future books. And now I kind of feel a little bit better with that because I'm just writing and with the idea of banking them for the future, that when I do come out with the next release, I can release books every couple months and feel good about that pace while still feeling ahead, if that makes any sense. But yeah, all of these episodes that you're going to be hearing from here on out have been pre-recorded in the spring of 2025. They're all really fabulous, and apologies to any of the authors or guests who have been waiting for these podcasts to come out. Apologize. But yeah, it all lines up perfectly with my Saturn return. So if anybody is an astrology girly, please DM me or write in the comments, and let me know, because the universe has definitely been tapping on my shoulder saying, are you aligned with what you're building? And anything that hasn't been has been just not coming easily, and I just need to pivot in certain areas, and that's what I'm learning. But anywho, I'm not forcing the direction in which I'm going in the future. I'm just kind of letting things flow from now on, hopefully, trying to. And please stay subscribed. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's get into it. Today's guest is honestly the queen of angst. She writes the kind of romance that has the perfect balance of emotional tension and slow burn longing, where it's achy and beautiful, where there's longing and hope. Everything feels risky, like you're holding your breath without even realizing it. Everything feels just so real. I mean, have you read A Love Letter to Whiskey? If you've ever finished a book with a knot in your stomach, tears streaming down your face, thinking, why does it hurt so good? Then you've probably read a novel by Kandi Steiner. And that's who I'm interviewing today. Welcome back, storytellers.
Hi.
Welcome, Kandi. I'm so excited that you're here.
I am thrilled to be here, Stephanie. Thanks for having me.
You're such an inspiration for myself, and I know so many others. I was reading some of your comment sections before we started. I know how I feel about your books, but I wanted to get a feel how other people perceive your books and just you in general. And I think you're such an inspiration for people, and such a a pillar of strength and support in the self-publishing community. Can you talk about how you got started? And yeah.
Oh man, well, thank you so much. First of all, that's super kind of you. I feel fortunate to be in this industry with so many incredible people, so many badass women who are just lifting each other up and helping each other and leaning on one another. I think it's a really cool and unique career to be in. And that doesn't just include the authors, that's also all the readers who just make up the community, right? But I got started years ago. In 2012 was when I first started writing my first book, and I published it in 2013. I was just sort of a kid who had no idea what I was doing, but I loved to write, and self-publishing was sort of having a moment at the time. It was more and more people were turning away from doing the traditional route of trying to query an agent and get their books in front of readers that way, and sort of taking the leap to write the stories that traditional publishers at the time were saying, those won't sell, those won't sell. And that was me for sure. I mean, I was writing romance at the time. My first book that I wrote was called Tag Chaser, and it was flipping the script on a really negative term for girls who are perceived to like hang out around military bases and try to like, you know, hook a guy in the military by getting pregnant or whatever, to sort of like trap the guy. And I was like, I don't really like this. I feel like there's got to be more to this story. So I wrote a story called Tag Chaser about a girl who's in that sort of situation, but she is the opposite. And instead of wanting to hook a military man, she likes to be with them because they're temporary and they never ask for anything serious, and she can have her fun and then kind of move on with her life. And that started my journey. So Tag Chaser was my first book. It's terrible. It's poorly edited. It was, definitely like my first toe in the water of this world. But I am thankful for it and every piece of my journey, because it led to where I am today. And I think along the way, as you mentioned, I found that I've always sort of had a love for teaching and a love for sharing knowledge. And we were kind of chatting before we came on here about being nerds, right? And we love to read and we love to educate ourselves. And I love to share education as well. So I just found that as I stumbled upon success, I wanted to share that. I wanted to lift others up and sort of say, hey, you can have a piece of this pie too. And so that's always kind of been a part of my platform is, I talk to my readers and I also talk to my colleagues as well, and just kind of let them know like, hey, if this is something you want to pursue, there's many, many avenues to do so. And I try to help where I can.
I think you're very generous with your knowledge. That's so admirable to me. You're just very supportive of other authors and you want to see them succeed. You do lives with other authors, and I think that's like, it's admirable to a reader to see that, and it's also for, somebody who, I just published my first book in November. It's like an aspiration, to get to that point and to see and for you to even say that you didn't like your first book, first of all, you weaponized that line about what people say about women, and you weaponized it and turned it into something, positive and badass, and which is amazing. And that's my whole brand, quote unquote, as I want to weaponize the things that people say about us, storyteller. I've been called a storyteller, and it's in a negative connotation. So I want to weaponize that into something, and alchemize that energy into something powerful. And I feel like that's what you did, and that's how you started this amazing self-publishing brand.
Oh, I love that is your brand. That's super powerful. And congratulations, by the way, on publishing your first book. That's really, really hard to do. So I'm proud of you.
Aw, thank you. My second one is coming out May 7th, which is actually my birthday, and I'm terrified. I just sent out my ARCs today, and my heart is I think I'm more nervous this time around. It doesn't get easier, right? I
was just going to say, it never gets easier. I mean, I just put out my 38th book, and I was just as nervous as book one, if not more so, because something that happens that I think, especially authors who are just getting started, may not recognize is the pressure never goes away. And in fact, it builds and builds and builds, because let's say you do start to find a reader base. Fortunately, right? That's what we're looking for. We want to find our readers. But as you start to find people who are reading your books, you have more and more people asking, what are you writing next? When's the next book coming? Oh, I hope it's this. I hope it's that. I hope you do this. I hope you do that. Please don't ever write that again. I really hated that. Oh, I hope it's not something like this. And and you have all these voices in your head. So I think one of the biggest challenges as a writer who's been in this industry now for 11 years is tuning out the noise and continuing to remind myself like why I started writing in the first place, and remembering to write what I want to write, the stories I want to, read, and not falling into the trap of thinking, oh, I should write whatever readers want from me. Because I did that one time, not like writing what they wanted, but like I listened to what they said they wanted, and I wrote a story that I never planned to write, and it was like one of my least successful books that I've ever released. And it was a very big lesson to me to like just follow my gut and listen to myself and like only do what I want to do.
Can you share which one it was, or if you don't want to?
Yeah, for me it was What He Never Knew, which funny enough is actually, I'm very proud of that book. I love that book. I think it's a very deep character journey. I love the characters so much. But without spoiling it, it's about the guy from my duet in the Best Kept Secret series, What He Doesn't Know, What He Always Knew. It's a love triangle, and everybody wanted the story for the guy who didn't get picked. But the problem is they wanted him with the girl from the original series, and that's obviously not an option. So I didn't realize I was walking myself right into a trap. It didn't matter who I put him with or how fleshed out the story was in there. I was not going to win. Like, they had an idea of who they wanted him with, and it was never going to be who I put him with. And so I think it just sort of like set myself up for failure. But I do love the book, and there are some readers who read it and it became their favorite. And to me, that's success, right? Like, if one person reads my book and says, I loved it, I connected with it, it meant something to me, then it's a success.
I love that so much. And I relate to that, but even on, like, I have, like, I'm just starting out, and I get DMs from people think like about what they think my next book's going to be about just by like the blurb and stuff like that. And then I know that it's not what they're thinking. And I'm like, oh,
exactly.
Well, I hope it doesn't like disappoint them. But, I wrote it for me. And, even my first book, it wasn't, I was, when you said about that your first book wasn't, a huge thing, my first book, I don't feel like it was much of a success because it was more of a passion project, right? I wrote it when I was like sleepless in the middle of the night with my son. My marriage had just, fell apart and, starting to unravel, and I was like newly postpartum. So I was still trying to figure out, who I was after, this, and through that I found who I was again. But, was it my best work? I don't think so. Cause I think every time you hone in those skills and you're going to get better and better and better. But I love it. I stand behind it, and I know that, eventually I'll write something that's going to be like the big hit, right? The big fish.
For sure. And that book is going to be part of your journey, right? And as you are, continuing your career and going on podcasts and things, you'll talk about it and what it meant to you. And it sounds like it was part of your personal journey, right? It's like that book meant something to you personally. It was your escape in a time of your life that was really difficult, and it's how you survived. And that's, I talk to a lot of my friends about this in the industry, how often we lean on writing, not just as our job, but as a coping mechanism or as a healing mechanism, or just because we love it so much. I mean, sometimes I will get so fired up and excited to write something that, I'll come up here at 10 o'clock at night and I'm not in work mode then, right? Like, I'm not sitting down with the mindset of like, how am I going to market this book and how's it going to make me money? I'm sitting down and going, oh my God, I just had the best idea and I have to get some of this out because I'm so excited about it. And that's what you got to cling to, right? Is the excitement and the pure love for writing, because the rest of it, the marketing and the social media and the financial aspect of it, will try so hard to drown out your creativity. You have to really fight to not let that happen.
I love that you mentioned that, because I actually have a screenshot up of one of your threads recently that you posted, and I have it literally, now it's on my vision board because I just needed the reminder. And for anybody who's watching, I'm just looking at my phone to read the thread that Kandi wrote, and I published my first book in 2013. I made $5.56 on release day and $111 in release month. It was my sixth book in 2016 that broke out and hit the Amazon's top 100. I didn't quit my job until 2017, until I'd had 3 bestsellers and I felt like I could sustain myself on writing income alone. It wasn't until 2022 that I had my first 6-figure year. Keep going, keep writing, and keep showing up. And
That's
now
right.
that's my board.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, like I think here's the thing is that we know so many people, you can look around the industry and we see so many people who explode from the get-go, right? Like some people it's their debut novel. Right, book talk. Others, it might be like their second series and it just explodes. And it's incredible to see that, right? But I think a lot of that desire for overnight success overshadows the magic of a consistent career. And to me, like that has always been the goal. It continues to be the goal. Like, listen, universe, if you're listening to me, I still greatly accept a blow up moment. I'm happy to have a trending viral hit. But at the same time, mostly what I want is to be able to write the stories I love, connect with the readers that feel the same ways that I do, and consistently be able to pay my bills and provide for my family and do what I love. Like the dream. That is truly the dream. It's the dream I've wanted to live out since I was a kid. And so as much as I, would love to be rolling in so much money that I never have to worry about anything again, it's about so much more than that for me personally. And consistency is key. It's not sexy to say that though, right? Like everybody wants to know what's the trick? What's the trick? How do I get there? How do I get there fast? Like there's got to be something that I'm missing that these people, they've discovered something that I haven't, and it feels like a treasure hunt. But I really do feel like the people who just continue to show up and write every day and continue to show up and publish every year, like there's such power and magic in that. And even though it doesn't sound as sexy, it can definitely be a dream come true in a different light.
I love that. And that's so poignant and it's powerful because so many of us need to hear that, especially just starting out. You look at your royalties and you can be a little discouraged when you have, an under $10 day, or you think about how much you've spent on ads or, whatever it is, your cover art for your next book. Is it going to be the one? And, when you put it like that and you put it's in black and white and you have to face it. Right. And that, overnight, I think I read a thread recently that said like overnight success is 10 years. Like someone's like, and that is so true because we don't see that half of these people who get that overnight success have been writing and like honing in on their craft for so many years until they blow up. Maybe they didn't publish, but they were probably working on their craft years before that. Or even if they did publish, it's sometimes like 6 books in and they've been, grinding and, working really hard to try and get to that level.
100%. I mean, I don't know anybody who is just given this, right? Like you have to be able to write and write well and or market well, sometimes both. Like there's so much that goes into this. And if you ever find yourself looking at someone going, why them and not me? I think that's a great moment to check yourself and check your desires. What means, what quantifies success to you? Why are you writing? I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you just want to make money, you're in the wrong career. You could pick so many easier careers for you to make money. Like if you want to be rich, go be a doctor. Like not in a disrespectful way, but I'm saying there's a clear-cut plan to becoming a doctor or a vet or a lawyer or one of these other things if money is truly like your drive, right? But if you are a creative, if you're an artist and you're like, no, like, yes, I want to make money off my art, but at the end of the day, it's about sharing my art. It's about telling my story. It's about connecting with other human beings and helping them feel less alone and see themselves reflected in a book about romance or whatever the case may be. That's what you cling to and that's what you remind yourself of when things get tough. I'm not going to sit here and say that like I haven't been there. I have had many times in my 11 years of this career where sales have dipped, credit cards have gone sky high. I'm looking at things thinking this is not going to work. I'm washed up. I'm going to have to, hang up my hat and go try something else or supplement my income somehow. It's scary and it is a roller coaster, but at the end of the day, I always just reminded myself of why I do this and why I love to write and why one message from a reader can change your whole day and your whole perspective. And one release can change everything too. I mean, for me, I had been steadily publishing and yes, I had had many bestsellers, but nothing compared to the success of Blindside until 2022. And then when Blindside came out, it just happened to be a book that book talkers really loved and they connected with it and they talked about it. And then they discovered my whole backlist, and it elevated me to the next level of my career at a time where I was thinking my career might be over. So you just never know when something magical can happen. You just have to show up and remind yourself of why you're here.
I love that. And just to keep working, you just keep doing it, and then you have to pivot, because sometimes it's like the algorithm.
Totally. And I mean, again, you got to make decisions for what matters most to you in that moment too. Like sometimes, if paying your bills is the most important thing, then yeah, maybe you're thinking outside of the box and trying to say, how can I reach my warm audience with this? How can I find new readers? What story is going to be the easiest to market? But other times, I think if you're feeling comfortable and you're not, putting so much financial pressure on your creativity and your art, you have a lot more freedom to explore what really drives you. I mean, look at Ruby Dixon. She wrote a series about blue aliens, and it blew up. It is wildly successful. And she did this for her. She did this because she was like, this will be fun and I want to write it. And it's authentic. You can't. And that's it. I mean, the same thing for there's so many authors and so many books and book series that you can look at and say, wow, I never would have thought to write that. Or it's not something that's out there that you can put in a box or say that there's anything else like it, but it then starts a trend, which is crazy. You could be a trend starter if you give yourself the freedom to move that way.
And that's how creativity happens, is through that freedom. When you feel caged in, you aren't as creative, and that hinders you from having maybe the best idea and that next best thing.
Right. And now you also maybe there is something that you can write within and be able to stretch your creativity muscles that way. I mean, I am a sports girly. I love writing sports romance, and I didn't do that for a big portion of my career. And then I was like, you know what? I know I normally write standalones. I'm kind of known as the angsty queen, but I can still write my angsty storylines that I love to write and set it within a sports world, right? And that's when the Red Zone Rivals series was born. And the first book didn't do well. The first book was in comparison to other books that I had released. Oh, it was a failure. It didn't even hit the top 100, which for me, that was a really big deal at the time. And I was like, oh man, nobody wants this from me. And I could have stopped right there and pivoted and said, okay, book one in the series didn't pan out, so I'm obviously not going to finish the series. But I was like, I really want to write book 2. I just love this book. So, whatever. I'm just going to do it for me. I know that it's probably not going to perform well. And that's okay. And then I'll figure out what comes next after that. And then the second book I wrote was Blindside, which completely changed my life. So it is really wild. I think this industry is half strategy and half just trusting your gut and knowing it's okay to do things that maybe other people would advise against. Do the funky cover that nobody else is doing. Use the models and the audiobook narrators that nobody else is using. Try tropes that everyone says they hate. There's so many ways you can test the boundaries and find that really nice creative satisfaction and also financial success.
That's amazing. And so I needed to hear that, honestly. It's validation for myself, more or less, right now, that I'm doing the right thing, because like I said, my first book wasn't what I thought it was going to be, right? Though I first released it and go, how you have it pictured in your head when you're concocting this whole plan that I'm going to publish. Okay, this gives me hope. The readers can tell that you're authentic and you want to help people.
Try to, yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's some days that I'm busy and I'll get an email from someone do you have any advice on writing my first book? And I'm like, I have so much to do that writing out an email to someone right now does not feel like a good use of my time. But I always try to take a moment and answer, even if it's just giving some tips that really helped me, or pointing them in the direction of podcasts I've done or stuff like that. Because here's the thing,
or giving me a shot coming on my podcast.
Of course. Yeah. I was that person too. I still am. I mean, I remember trying to figure things out, and I was sliding into the inbox of Jillian Dodd and Jen Sterling, who at the time I loved their books. I loved what they were doing and still adore both of them. And I was I'm so sorry to ask you these questions. I'm lost and I'm not sure what to do. And they were so kind and generous with their knowledge. And that was something I really wanted to pay forward, because there were other authors that I followed and loved their books who were not so generous, and who I feel like when I told them I was writing, they sort of like laughed it off or kind of like treated it as if I wasn't on their same level. It was very discouraging and sad. And I was like, I never, ever, ever want to make someone feel like their desire and dream to write is not valuable and not worthy, because it is. And everybody has something different going for them in their storytelling. We all have our own voice. And I would be, devastated if I ever heard that I quieted a voice because I didn't offer a little bit of support that's free for me to do, right? I just have to take a moment of time. So I try to always do that. And I appreciate you saying that it's helped you. I'm glad anytime it's helped anybody else. And I love that you're using your voice and your platform to sort of spread more stories, because I think it's important.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I really want to share everybody's story. I think that we all, it goes back to that connotation that we have, like, oh, people have a past. And I don't think that it has to be, demonized the way it is. It's like, oh, we have a story, and it's like, and it's juicy and it's good, and it can be, and you weaponize it to your advantage and turn it and alchemize it into something beautiful and into your own stories, like whether you're writing a story or on a podcast or wherever your creative ventures go.
Love it. I love it.
Is there a particular book that you felt that's like most personal to you, that like gutted you more than like the rest, since you are the angst queen?
Oh man, so many. They're like, I'm sure you feel the same way, but when I am writing, I'm so connected to the story and to the characters. It's really hard to not get tied up if I'm writing a more emotional story or gut-wrenching one. So A Love Letter to Whiskey is one that's always going to stay with me. I mean, Jamie and Bea are like forever cemented into my heart. Their story was just so raw and unconventional, especially for that time that I published it. And even now, I mean, it doesn't follow any of the romance beats. I don't think I could even write it today if I wanted to. Like, I'm so glad I wrote it when I did, because it was back before I was really making money off my writing. It was back before I was following any of the rules or guidelines or, hot tips for how to make it or whatever. It was just me sitting down, writing a story that as it came to me. And so it means so much to me, because I feel like it's a little time stamp, like a little time capsule with a piece of me inside of it. And I can remember exactly who I was and how I felt as I was writing it. And there's so many books like that. Like On the Way to You is one that I can remember who I was and what I was feeling at that time in my life. I was really exploring a lot of things, like, am I religious or am I not? And what do I think about depression? And people around me are facing depression. How does that impact me as someone who loves them? And what defines happiness? And what is minimalism? And how does that play out? I mean, there were so many questions that I explored, right? And then you have like my most recent ones that I think on the surface level seem like just fun little romps, right? Like they're just the sports romance and everything. But the most recent one that I wrote, Save Your Breath, Alex, he is the child of two addicts, and both died when he was young, grew up in foster care, and he's trying to find a life worth living and loving, but he feels numb and he's having a hard time escaping his past. And anyway, it's like, you can explore so much within your books, no matter, what the genre is, I guess, or the subgenre is, or the tropes. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many of them that stick with me and always will. And I think that, again, reflects my decisions to write stories that I love and that mean something to me. Some of my favorite books that I've written have performed terribly financially, but I'm still happy they exist,
My own book, my main character, Cassie, she was hated by a lot of people, including my best friend. She read it and she was very honest with me, and she said, I did not like Cassie at all. Loved the book, did not like Cassie at all. But I felt like I was Cassie at that time. She, my book is about two foster kids who were together since 4 years old, and they get separated by his wealthy family and are reunited 10 years later when he walks into the restaurant where she works. So she has a lot of trauma. And she's been through a lot. She was dealt a hard card, and she can be a little tough. She's a tough shell to crack. And I felt like during the time I was writing it, like, you, I was going through a lot with my, my marriage and stuff like that. And I was that person. I was a little beaten down. I felt like I was, didn't have like the most hopeful mindset at the time. And I put a lot of myself into her, and, her insecurities, her, doubts for people. And I healed a lot through that. And she healed me, I feel like, and like parts of me. And then with Grace, my next book that's coming out, I wrote that when I was in the healing process. So it's like a breath of fresh air after like the darkness, right? And I was like, oh wow, this is like such a different tone. Grace is so different because I'm different. And you really do.
Totally.
And like, not that, Grace is a rich girl from New York. I'm not that, but I'm in the New York area, but so we're polar opposites, but the tone of it is like similar.
No, absolutely. And I will say, I mean, this has proven itself time and time again for me over the years, but readers tend to be more harsh judgment-wise on the female main characters. You can let the main male character can be beaten down. He can be a total asshole. He can like be a straight bully, and we're like, oh, he's just misunderstood. But, you give us a main female character who has had it rough or has some trauma, and she's not instantly healed and instantly acting like a healthy, well-adjusted adult, and everyone hates her. I mean, this has happened time and time and time again with me. I mean, most of my bad reviews are people hating my heroines. And I'm okay with that because I have a theory that I think a lot of it is inner projection. I think a lot of us as women have been trained our whole lives to hate ourselves and to put these unrealistic expectations on. We are supposed to be perfect. We're supposed to have it all together. We need to 100% like correctly respond to everything that happens to us. We have to be mature. We have to be responsible. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So when you put someone in front of us who is dealing with traumatic in a way that we feel like is not the correct way, it's like our guards go up. Like our instinct is just to be like, ugh, hate her. I hate her so much, right? So I will say you might run into that again, and that's totally normal. It's really difficult to write a female main character who everyone loves unless you write someone who is like the perfect image of what we all wish we could be. And even then people will hate her because she's too perfect, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I can 100% relate, and I could go through the list of my books and tell you all the reasons why each one of my characters was hated. But that's why I love writing, is because I love to explore the like gray area of love and the fact that we are all like these raw, really complex emotion, or humans with complex emotions, and we're trying to fall in love, and we're trying to figure out what matters to us in life and how to live our lives and how to let go of things that don't serve us. And there's a lot of magic in the discovery of those things, but it's messy. It's not going to be clean cut and healthy all the way through. I mean, I wouldn't even consider myself a healthy, well-adjusted individual until I was maybe 30, 31. My 20s, I was a mess. And so anybody who is reading a book about 22-year-olds and thinks that they are not mature enough, I'm like, well, yeah, duh. That's kind of that's kind of the point.
You said so much goodness there. I don't even know where to start. First of all, I'm 29 and I feel like I'm just starting like to get my, itch together. Well, I'm turning 29, and yeah, my 20s were messy, and I was messy, and and then if you go into the teen years, you're like, oh my God, you have so many cringe moments. But I love what you said about that we don't give females a pass because of our own projections. And as a therapy girly, like I'm in therapy, I read all the self-help books. I'm very like into that, sphere. And that's so true, because I can point out things in books that I don't like about them. And it's probably because of myself. Like even I was reading a book recently, and I asked my friend, she had already read it. I said, this book, she's not, she doesn't seem like she's going to get back together with the guy. Is it a happy ending? Does she forgive him? And she's like, and then she told me that it's not a happy ending and they don't get together at the end. And she's like, well, why would you want that? He's an asshole. And she was like listing all the reasons. I'm like, Okay, back to therapy I go.
Yeah, it's because I like toxic. I know. I tell people all the time when they read A Love Letter to Whiskey, I get the gamut of emotional reactions to that book. I mean, I just responded to a comment the other day that was on my video, and the person commented and basically told me how much they hated this book and wish they could get their time back. And I was like, you have every right to feel this way. This book is not for everyone. You either love it or hate it, and most of those people who love it we love it because we understand it, because we were there at some point in our life where we were young and emotions were running high, hormones were controlling our brains, and we were playing these toxic games with this person because we didn't know any better. We didn't have it figured out on how to say, hey, I would like to sit down and tell you that I have feelings for you. Like, that was not a thing that happened. And especially when I was younger, the games were everyone played games. Everyone played games. It was like, don't pretend like you don't like them. Get them to come to you. You never want to be the one who shows your hand. You never want to have the tables turned on you. Whoever has the most power in a relationship is winning. Like, there was so much of that in my ears. And now that I'm like happily married and have a child and realize what it takes to actually have what I consider a worthwhile relationship, I know how wrong I was back then, but I didn't know it then. I was a kid, right? So when people tell me that they hate one of my characters who maybe acts in a way that they don't agree with, or a storyline where the characters are really toxic, I'm like, you know what? I'm so happy for you that you have had such a lovely life. You have no trauma. You have no toxicity. You're not trying to solve your daddy or mommy issues by, making a lot of mistakes in relationships. Wonderful for you. But for some of us, we're still figuring it out.
Still figuring it out and still in therapy because of it all.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important for young people to see, and like any person to see. It's representation of like who we used to be and who we're like going, where we're going. It's two like opposite ends of the spectrum, but in the middle, like it's still you. And the only at the end of the day, we're going to grow old with ourselves. Our longest relationship is with ourselves. And if we can't make peace with those ugly versions of ourselves, and not even ugly, the broken, the heartsick, like we were, sometimes a little desperate probably. And if you can't make peace with that, then what are we doing? And we're going to go like another 50 years hating ourselves. Like life is short, and we deserve that love from ourselves so that we can love properly and find other people who love us the same way.
Dude, 100%. And I mean, I also think like don't yuck anybody's yum, right? Like everybody has something that works for them. I mean, like I love to write angsty stories because I love that feeling. Do I want to live it in my own personal life? Hell no. But I love to read about it and remember like that gut-wrenching feeling of being so in love with someone, so obsessed with someone that you're doing stupid stuff and you can't help it because you're just like, you're literally crazy because of this person, right? You're addicted to it. You're addicted to the feeling. And I think that is just as valuable to explore as a no conflict romantic comedy where everybody is happy and there's roses and, butterflies everywhere and whatever. Like, yeah, that's a cute, fun story. And I know there's romances out there that have never faced conflict, that have been great from the start, and everyone's perfect and wonderful, lovely for you. But that's not the story I want to read or the story that I want to explore because it's so different from what I have lived. So I do think what you said, like a lot of us read and we're looking for that reflection, right? We're looking at, is there someone out there like me? Is there someone out there who feels this way, thinks this way? It's why I love reading psychological thrillers, because I love when you're reading about someone who has been diagnosed as like mentally ill, or who is, people in their lives are making them feel crazy. And you have this moment where you're like, I have thought these thoughts, or like I could be this person. And I don't know, I just think it's so fascinating to explore the human, puzzle.
No, and it reminds me of the song by Taylor Swift, Mad Woman. It's like the lyrics in it are so gut-wrenching because the person is making her feel mad. Like,
yes,
crazy. And we've all been there. It's like, oh, you're crazy, you're just mad. Like and we're brushed off. And it's not, the truth. And we know it's not the truth. We know that we're being, it's like that gaslighting, pour gasoline on the fire, and then, you put someone in a tailspin, and then you say, oh, look at them.
Uh-huh. Like they play no part in it. I mean, and I like am recovering still. I mean, in therapy for life, just from loving narcissists in my life and addicts and just all the things, right? And so yeah, there is, I think, a part of being in that tailspin that always stays with us, and I that's why I think I like to continue to explore it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the same way. I have the same, similar traumas and, similar relationships. I feel like I attracted narcissists for a long time. And that's past tense because my therapist told me, we have to put an end to it. And that, you have to project it that I'm done with that. And, but it's easy to do. And I feel like sometimes women who are creatives are susceptible to narcissistic behaviors because we want to be loved so much. And until you find that love and you're secure with yourself, and that's probably what happens like more so in like late 20s, 30s. And that's why like the 20s are so messy. You don't know who you are. And so you're easily manipulated and, easily, to be that girl, oh, look, the crazy girl over there who's, fighting with me over nothing, and then like they just shrug their shoulders and they're able to walk away after they make you nuts and the game playing. And then, it goes both ways because then you play the games because God forbid we say, oh, I like you, or, express our real feelings because we were taught not to. That the guy's supposed to be the pursuer, and like, it's just like, why can't we just be straightforward?
Yeah, no, 100%.
I feel like we've all had those moments, and reading about it is healing, and books are healing. And no matter the genre, like people, will snuff their nose up at like romance when I say I write romance, but it's been it's instrumental in my healing, I feel almost.
For sure. And I mean, it doesn't always have to be, right? Like, I mean, sometimes we write books just because it's fun to write a silly little romance book. And it's not silly. I mean, love is like, I think it's really interesting how many people kind of like snub their nose at romance, not just men, but a lot of women who are just like, oh, God, romance books like could never be me, right? And it's fascinating to me because I feel like truly at the end of the day, like what most humans are looking for is love. Like what most humans are looking for is love. So why is it so silly to have a genre that is built around finding love? Like that to me, that makes nothing but sense. And even if you look at some of the most popular movies and stories of all time, written by men or women, no matter what genre they're in, there's a love story within every single one of them, even if it's not the the pivotal storyline, if it's not the one and only storyline. So it is really interesting how quickly people are to turn up their noses against something that I'm like, ooh, girlfriend, I hope you know that like how long did you want to find love? Or like, not, and it doesn't even have to be love with a partner in like a intimate way, right? It could be love from a family member or love from a friend or love in a career or from yourself. Like there's so much of that that's explored in the romance genre too. I mean, how many books have you read where, yes, it's a romance, but the individual characters are working on finding their worth in their career or finding pride from their parents or finding acceptance from their friend group or whatever the case may be? It's so relatable. So when people tell me that they don't like romance books, I'm like, I just don't think you've read one. Like, I can't imagine.
Romance books make us feel seen. What's your favorite book?
You can't ask someone their favorite book. That's so hard. I don't know. I really don't. There's so many books that I love. I feel like if I'm talking recent years, Fourth Wing is probably one of my favorite books. For me, that book swept me up and pulled me into the world, and I didn't come up for air. I was obsessed with reading it. I just loved it so much. One of my other favorites is Thoughtless by S.C. Stevens, which if you are an angst-loving girly like me, it's impossible to put it down once you get sucked into it. And again, it's like a taboo sort of like, she moves in with her boyfriend's bandmate and there's instant connection there. So it's, oh God, I love it. I live for it. And then in the classics realm, I've really always enjoyed The Catcher in the Rye. I love The Catcher in the Rye. I think Holden Caulfield is like one of the most complex characters ever. I know he gets shit on a lot and people are like, oh, he's like a whiny little boy. But no, I think it's a really interesting story that still sits with me today.
I love it so much. I read it in high school and it sits with me today, till today as well. And I think it's so relatable and I have so much to say about that book, and I love Holden Caulfield despite all of his flaws.
Yes.
Absolutely. My last question: if your life was a story, what chapter would this be called?
What would the chapter be called? That's a great question. I think maybe it would be called The Mother Load, because I am figuring out how to be a mom and how that plays into every other aspect of my life. And I will say, everyone tells you your life changes when you become a parent. And I knew that. But like, I was just thinking like in the very shallow aspect of like, oh, I'm going to have less time. I'm going to be a little more tired and I'm going to have this other human to take care of. But I mean, everything fundamentally about me has shifted. What I care about, what I dream about, what my priorities are. I mean, I as a human am a completely different person than I was 8 months ago, which is really cool. It's fun to discover who I am in this new chapter. And yeah, so I think it would be called The Mother Load.
My own journey is so similar to that. I feel like I was like a nut, and I was cracked open when I was when I had my son, and I feel like I didn't know who I was, and I feel like he was instrumental in me finding who I was. He literally made me a writer, because if he wasn't a good sleeper and I was up in the middle of the night on my phone like writing while I was feeding him.
I don't know if you experience this, but I can't watch anything the same way that I did, or read anything the same way, because now that I am a parent, all I can think about, like when they're like, we're watching The Pit right now, and I have sobbed so many times. It's a great show, but I've cried so much because I'm seeing the world through the perspective of a mother now, instead of the perspective of someone who has a mother and a father and whatever. And there's nothing like it when you cross that threshold into parenthood. Like, I feel like I've joined a secret club, like a secret society. If a little girl is like playing with her mom, or like, looking up to her father, I'm like getting teary eyed. I'm like, I can't.
Where's the tissues? I need a tissue.
Yes. Oh, this has been so much fun, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being so open and honest about your journey, and come back anytime. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And for anybody listening, if you want to stay connected with me, I am everywhere you are online. So I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads. So wherever you want to hang out. And the best place that you can find me, if you really want to know more about my books and me, is my newsletter. So if you go over to kandysteiner.com, you'll see a little pop-up. It'll say sign up for my newsletter. I'll send you a free book. And it's really important to try to get as many people as I can to connect with me there, because social media is and always has been finicky. So definitely come find me on my newsletter, and drop me a line and let me know what you thought of the episode.
Thanks for listening to Storytelling with Stephanie. If you liked today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a quick review, and share it with a friend. I'll be back next week with more stories. Until then, keep living your truth and rewriting your own story.